Hi, everybody. Today's special guest is attorney Joseph Kim. It's such a pleasure to see you again, especially since you have now graduated from Notre Dame Law School, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's congratulations on stream. I want to congratulate you on stream for crossing 10,000 subscribers. I reached out to say congratulations,
Yeah.
and then you invited me back on, and I'm always happy to come on and chat. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm surprised you actually have time to do YouTube these days because you're working for a very large law firm, right?
There have been times when it's been busy. Right now, it's a little bit slower, and I think because we're still stub years, um, there's no like hours requirement we have to hit by the end of the year. That's going to start January 1st, where it starts counting. So, um, yeah, it's not the busiest that I'll be moving forward.
hmm Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your background first.
So I'm from Southern California. It's where I returned now, but I went to law school in Indiana at Notre Dame Law School. Um, and I do employment litigation now on defense side for a law firm. I just started about 2.5 months ago, so it's all very new. I've been on this channel a couple times, and so I think with the previous videos, we could track a bit of what I was thinking and when during my journey through law school.
Mhm.
But I passed the California bar. I took it in July. Results came out in November, and so now, yeah, maybe for the
Okay.
first time, someone's introduced me as attorney Joseph.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. So, were you born in the US?
I was born in South Korea, but I left at a very young age. So I was 4 when I left Korea, and then I spent 2 years in Canada, and then since
Oh,
then, yeah, San Diego's been my hometown.
oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. So, what were you guys doing in Canada?
So it's for my dad's job. He was always trying to work in the U.S., but there's an angle where kind of break out of Korea first, and then get into Canada, and then from Canada it's a little easier to transition into the U.S. So um, that's what he did.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Helen. She says you're a good-looking young man and smart. Wow.
Thank you,
That's
Helen.
very flattering. Okay, Helen's from Canada, one of the frequent commenters here. Thank you. So you grew up mostly in Southern Cal, is that
Hmm.
right?
San Diego,
Okay,
yes.
yeah. And what made you decide to go to Notre Dame for law school?
I've probably touched on this before, but I'll go over it again.
Sure.
Just the decision to go to law school in general, at the time it was something I was kind of came out of the blue, relatively. Like it was like my junior, senior year in college, and I finally, got around to maybe taking that idea seriously. And then so I applied to so many different schools because I was a splitter, which means my LSAT score was higher than the median at most schools, while my GPA, college GPA, would have been lower than the median. So you don't really know what kind of results, consistent results you'll get across the board. So I applied to over 20 schools, most of the California schools. And in the end, I got off the waitlist at Notre Dame very late into the cycle. I was deciding between Notre Dame and the University of San Diego. It was very, very close decision. Stay close to home, a little bit more of a scholarship, and all that stuff. And it was I already paid the deposit. I was about to sign a lease to move in somewhere in San Diego, or Notre Dame, which I think at the time, I think the value proposition of both schools was maybe 50-50, and I was really having a hard time deciding. But then it was coming right off of COVID, so it was the fall of 2020 or the summer of 2020, and I know you're stuck at home with your family for a long time, and you just get reminded, man, maybe I just want to, you know, be on my own again. And a little bit of distance for family isn't the worst thing. So I started driving over to Indiana, and I started attending Notre Dame. So it was a last minute decision.
Yeah. Well, isn't Notre Dame ranked a lot better than University of San Diego?
At the time, so San Diego's been climbing the rankings, and I think the
Mhm.
predictions for the 2024 rankings is some of the predictions I've seen have been putting them up 20, 30 spots. But at the time, they were maybe 50 or 60 spots apart.
Mhm.
Um,
That seems like
And
a big deal. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then from my perspective, I I mean I would approach it very differently now. But back then, I think I saw that I was getting more scholarship from University of San Diego, but that the employment outcomes and some of the other benefits of going to a higher ranked school like Notre Dame, uh, I thought it was a very close decision because it was just a trade-off, right? And I considered them very equal choices at the time.
Hmm. Yeah. So this is a kind of a personal question, but are your law school loans paid, or do
Uh,
you have loans?
yeah, I have loans, plenty of them, and I don't mind. It's not that personal of a question for me. So I took out. I had about a half tuition scholarship from Notre Dame, and it would have been something close to three-fourths at University of San Diego. So it wasn't going to be like day and night. I was going to take out loans regardless. But now I'm sitting with $186,000 in student loans after taking out the half tuition, which goes up year by year as well from Notre Dame, and also the living expenses. And I came straight through from college, so I didn't really have too much savings to lean on. Although I did work, I think I've since I was 18, I've worked part time at least.
Hmm.
Nonstop except for 1L. 1L is the only time I didn't work. So I worked through law school as well. That helped with some of the expenses. But right now the number is 186,000. Um,
Oh,
and yeah, I've just started making income again. And
yeah.
there's still some quirky stuff with how the student loan repayments are being done. So I'm trying to take advantage of every little loophole that I can find and strategize around it. But that's the number I'm sitting at now.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, when you said 186, it's kind of weird, but I was thinking that's actually not that bad considering all these people on YouTube that were saying they have 250K or 300K law school debt.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, oh, 186, no big deal, you know. I mean, but it's great that you got not only a job, but a well-paying job. So you should be able to pay that off pretty quickly. Um, so how do they calculate what your monthly payment is?
Uh, I'll be completely honest. I don't really know on the back end exactly what goes into so it depends on how long you want the time horizon that you want to pay it over, and I'm sure the interest rates of when you took it out and all these things go into, and they just spit out a number, right? So for me, it would be Aid Advantage. They're my loan servicers. They just give me a number and they say this is your loan payment monthly if you want to pay it off over 10 years, 20 years. But I think as long as there's a minimum payment, it doesn't matter too much. I would have refinanced, take like, where you take your student loans, which is from the government, and then get it paid off immediately by a private loan servicer. And then now you have a loan with this private company, right?
Mhm.
And you can get lower interest rates, but you're just not paying the government anymore. So I would have refinanced immediately, but with Biden's new student loan repayment plans or some of the adjustments that he's made to it. Right now, I pay. It's a fantastic time to have just graduated from law school because right now I pay about 90 something dollars in interest a month, and the rest of the interest that
Oh,
accrues gets forgiven immediately.
oh,
And that's because my income that I certified with the loan servicers is based off of my most recent tax return, which was when I was a student.
oh,
So
great. Yeah.
yeah, so in
Okay.
a way, I'm paying the interest that a much lower annual income would be paying, and until my tax returns kind of catch up with my annual earnings, um, I'll kind of be able to pay a little bit in interest and save the rest and throw them into high yield savings accounts, get a little bit of interest on that, and maybe give myself a little discount after a couple years pile up.
Okay. Hi, Brianna. Thanks for being here. So she wants to know, do you expect your parents to pay off your loans? Is that a norm? I think that there's like a significant chunk of people whose parents do wind up bailing them out, especially for college loans, but not sure about law school. Do you care to answer this?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it would be that common because if your parents can bail you out, they might do it on the front end, and you might not take out loans to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, so, but no, I do not expect my parents to pay off my loans. They did help me a lot through college. Not with the tuition, it was still I took out loans for a little bit of loans for undergrad as well. But they've been very supportive in other ways, other than just saying we will finance your education. And so, if anything, I want to repay them. Just be a good son and appreciate that the help and support they've given me. But my loans are mine, and I don't expect anyone else to touch it.
Yeah, and didn't you mention before that your father's a minister?
Yes, he is.
Yes, and does your mother work?
So she was a nurse. I mean, she is. Sorry, she went from like doing, I think, intensive care, and now she does sort of more clinic work, take like intake and triaging. So yeah, my dad's a pastor. My mom is a nurse. My mom would stay at home maybe until I was about 12 or 13. So then she went back to school for nursing school, and then we had to pay off her loans first, while
Oh,
accumulating more for the whole family, while
oh,
me and my sister went to school. And then that was a while ago. So, but they're both
mhm.
still working.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned that you had to work through college as well as a little bit during law school. So what kind of jobs did you do?
I didn't have to work, but I chose
Oh,
to, and I
okay.
loved it. I loved it a lot. So in college, I worked at I guess if you're in California or maybe Vegas, some of Texas, I think people might know this. 85C Bakery. It's a bakery cafe, Taiwanese.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, so it was a retail job, part time, but
Mhm.
I worked anywhere probably from 20 to 35 plus hours, depending on my class schedule. That's where a lot of my friends were during college as well. So yeah, I worked retail, all throughout college. In law school, like I said before, I didn't work during 1L year, but afterwards I had two jobs. One is a research assistant for a professor, which I worked for him full time during the summer and then part time afterwards, and also for a website dedicated to the intersection of lawyers and personal finance. It's a pretty high volume website, so some people might have seen the blog posts that I've written uh,
Mhm.
for that
Yeah,
website.
yeah. Okay, great to hear. So Six-Toed Pete says he went to Boston College. We refer to Notre Dame as the Boston College of the Midwest. Have you heard of that?
No, but I could see where he's coming from. It sounds about right based on what I know about the two schools.
Which is what? That it's like a small Catholic school? Or
Uh, Actually, I don't know if Boston College is Catholic, but I think you sort of have a bit. It's a decent blend of regional and I think portability, like regional strength for the degree and also portability. I know Boston College is a bit more, you know, in the East Coast, and so maybe that's when Notre Dame is has that title for the Midwest. And I don't mean to offend you, but we don't really think about Boston College much, and it's not because like we're that much better or anything. It's just we've never thought Boston College is the Notre Dame of the East, but Notre Dame definitely does have a lot of presence in the Midwest.
Mhm. Did you have some sort of culture shock going from Southern Cal to Indiana?
I have friends that do, but for me, no. I spent my freshman year of college in Michigan, actually. Uh, I followed my sister there, and then I realized later that the school wasn't for me. But I'd been in the Midwest before. I guess Southern California, it's like a boiling pot. So you've seen little bits of everything, right? And so you get less of a blend in the Midwest. But also, I was there for law school, so I was just kind of in the library a lot of times and just reading the same case books that everyone else is. And I don't know how much culture there is in that kind of environment. Maybe if I
Mhm,
step out into the community a bit more, but I was mostly there for school.
mhm. Yeah, what was the atmosphere like? Did it feel very competitive?
Phew. At times,
Mhm,
everyone knows that there is a competition and that you are competing against your classmates for the same jobs, the same extracurricular positions, um, and of course the grades, right? Because you're all graded on the same curve. I don't think Notre Dame was that competitive, at least my class. Our class size was smaller, which means all the things I listed, there's going to be more of for fewer people, which just by nature that makes it less competitive.
Mhm.
And also because of the portability of the degree, people going to California are not really competing for the same jobs as the people going to Chicago or New York. So um, I I think a lot of those factors kind of come together to make Notre Dame a little bit less of a competitive place than some other schools might be.
Mhm. Yeah. So what happened to your classmates? Did they find jobs pretty easily, would you say?
Some of them did. I think so. The school range that Notre Dame, like the law school, that Notre Dame Law School, the range that it is in with the rankings and its employment outcomes, maybe in that, lower T14 to like possibly somewhere in the T50 range, you're going to get a whole variety of results. Some people are going to knock it out of the park very early. After the first semester, they'll have a big law job lined up for 2 summers straight in the city that they want, and everything just works magically for them. And you'll have other people that struggle to find jobs all the way through the bar exam, whether they pass or not, and then still, be job hunting and trying to figure out how they're going to get their legal career started. So it runs the whole gamut. I have friends that are um, are 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 thriving now, and they have been for a couple of years already, even as students. And I have friends that are struggling as well.
Hmm. Yeah. So are some of them doing things like document review?
I don't, not that I know of, but I don't know if that's actually as common as it was before, because so much document review is is sort of outsourced.
Disappeared. Yeah.
Yeah, it's outsourced to the technology and also to like internal doc review teams. So, for example, at my firm, I do some doc review. I get staffed on it. I don't think that's ever really going to go away completely, but it's not as much as I think it was maybe 5, 10 years ago. A lot of it is handled by like a team of staff attorneys or contract attorneys um, within the firm that they handle a lot of the front end and back end of doc review, and I might come in uh, just to flag uh, just to flag a set of documents somewhere in the middle, right? A couple hundred, maybe up to 1,000 with, or maybe up to a couple thousand with a small team. I haven't seen any like massive doc review projects yet that, go for 6, 8, 12 months, where it's all hands on deck and you're doing it for 10 hours a day, which doesn't sound too bad though on some days when if I'm bored or if, I've heard it's a great way to just stack up the billable hours, but I haven't run into it yet.
Hmm. Okay. Hi, Janice. She's a retired attorney, I think. Are jobs easy to find after you've qualified? Some people here find it very difficult to find a job. Criminal work is not attracting people here in the UK as the pay and hours are horrendous.
I haven't had to job hunt after I assume being qualified is like passing the bar, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean I haven't had to job hunt afterwards, but
Mhm.
all the advice I tend to read for when some people say, um, like I don't have a job yet, should I be job hunting or should I, dedicate all my effort on studying for the bar and passing? I think the advice tends to lean towards make sure you pass the bar. You're just that much more marketable.
Yeah.
Um, and and it's one less thing that you have to it's just one less thing you have to worry about. You have to take the bar once, but your career, the jobs that you have, these are moves that you might be making over and over again. So just get it out of the way, and you can't really work as a lawyer, like a practicing attorney, until you pass the bar. So I assume it's a lot easier after you've passed the bar.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you have any classmates who did criminal law, criminal defense, or prosecution?
A handful. I don't think I don't think many of them are my close friends, or the ones that I am closer friends with, they actually don't go to Notre Dame. They're doing um, sort of the public interest, criminal defense, or prosecution work from other schools.
Hmm. Yeah. So tell us how you got your current job.
I went through the usual OCI process, on-campus interviewing, which these days, or when I was in law school, which was forever ago, uh, OCIs tended to be after your first summer. So you're in law school for a year, and then you work during the summer. You might, brush up on your networking and job application skills and things like that. And then come August, you're you're interviewing with firms, and people are starting to get jobs. Maybe early or maybe late July. Um, so that was the process that I went through, and then it took me a while. I struck out at OCI, which means I went through all my interviews and I didn't come out with a job. But I went through that process, and at the very tail end, there was a resume collect for the firm that I'm at now. I just applied at like any other place. I interviewed, and then by the end of September, I had a job offer, which you know the whole months of August and September felt like forever then. It felt like I was, staring down an endless tunnel because you just get rejection after rejection. But that was a process that I went through. And of course, there's more that went into it. I got much better at interviewing, at job hunting, being much more intentional about how I job search. And I learned a lot. And I think a lot of that knowledge helped finally secure the job when the opportunity presented itself to me a couple months down the line. And these days, I think law students will be going through that process much earlier, as early as May or June, just because firms like to compete and be first at everything. So they'll come onto the schools, they'll start recruiting earlier and earlier, and just try to get these students to accept their job offers, so that it's good marketing if you hear that someone secured a job in May while you're still taking finals or something like that. And you're
Yeah.
like, wow, well, that firm treated my classmate really well. And so the firm's reputation gets to go up. But yeah, we'll see how things turn out in the future. But for me, it was in the late summer of after my first year of law school.
hmm Okay, great. Great to hear. So it sounds like law school did pay off for you. I mean, you pretty much got what most people want, which is a really nice, prestigious job after graduation. So,
Well, thank you. I think it's a bit premature to
congrats.
say that it paid off because it's
Yeah.
still so new and you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
check in with you next year, see how you're feeling. But you still look youthful. You don't look like you've aged since the last time you were on the show. So that part is good. You still have your hair, So,
yeah. Well, every time I go home, my mom tells me I have more white hairs than the last time,
oh
but
no. Okay.
uh, and but yeah, I'd like to think that sort of if I look back, I'm happy with where my decision to pursue a legal education and career has gotten me so far. Uh, I think it's way too early to say that the dust has settled, but otherwise I'm in a good place. I think I'm really liking my job. I'm learning a lot. It continues to challenge me and engage me. I've met wonderful people, and I think just in terms of becoming the best professional that I can be, um, it's it is within my control to take advantage of the opportunities that I have in front of me. Um, so yeah, I would like to. I agree that right now I think it's paid off, and I hope it continues to pay off.
hmm That's great. So, what's a typical day like for you?
It's gonna depend. So right now it's not the busiest time. I might have to check my emails a couple times during the weekends, uh, but most of them don't really require my attention. During the week, when okay, actually this past week I think maybe it has good examples of times when it's slow and times when it's busy. So there was a two-day stretch when I was given an assignment. It was kind of urgent, and for junior associates, a lot of times people treat you not like an afterthought, but like they think of you when they need you, right? So it's like, oh, I got something urgent, something basic that a junior associate can do, where I just need the manpower, right? So then they hand me this assignment and they say, I need this back in the next 2 days. And so I might be really busy for about 2 days just trying to figure it out. And this kind of work could range anything from, dense legal research to checking case law, doc review, or just even or proofing or anything where they're like, we just want to learn more about this judge because we're going to be talking to this client who has a case before them. So just like find out what you can and get back to me. So it can be a whole variety of things that you just, whatever they need, they ask you for, and then you try to help. Um, and you can have busy times. And then some other times you could have very slow days where I walk, I wake up a little later than I think I should. I check my emails, nothing's really in. I slowly make breakfast, wash, head into the office. It's like 11 a.m. sometimes, and nothing's been going on all day, and nothing happens until 3 p.m. Nothing happens till 4 p.m. And then I just go
Really?
home and I move
How could
on with
that
my
be?
life.
I mean, you're supposed to be billing your hours, right? Every day, keep track of your billable hours.
Believe it or not, so I'm maybe one of I'm definitely like in the upper half of like being busy as a stub year. For the people that don't know, a stub year is a lot of firms have stub years where you come in, you pass the bar, you start working, but your hours don't count. You're not technically a first year until maybe January
Mhm.
uh, of the following year. So that's what I am right now, a stub year between October and December, where my hours don't count. I still get paid the same, but it's almost like a free trial, right? Get
Mhm.
accumulated, get to know
Good.
people,
Mhm.
things like that. So um, there's 6 of us stub years in my class, and I'm definitely, number 1, 2, or 3 in terms of busiest, and I still have a lot of downtime. So I think your experience will drastically vary depending on the practice group that you're in, the office that you're in, just maybe whatever cases the attorneys are handling, the ones that supervise or assign to you specifically. So if there happens to be a trial at the moment you join the firm in your first week, you might be billing, 80 hours in your first week, and someone else might just be looking at the the human resources or the orientation video modules and just be like, okay, right, don't harass anyone. This is how I handle this document management system or things like that. And then time passes and nothing happens for the first month or two. So I've heard people's experience can go any number of ways. And I think mine has been somewhere in the middle. A little busy
Mhm.
here, a little slow there. Some weekend work, sometimes not, and things like that.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting question. Are you ever asked to scout out podcasts on cases? I think that might apply more to, say, like criminal cases or something that has a lot of publicity.
I have okay, so no, I have not been asked to, but something tangentially related. I've had a colleague that part of her sort of ongoing tasks is to just keep an eye out for like new potential class actions.
Mhm.
So unlike maybe um, like your run-of-the-mill personal injury case, I think a lot of times you'll see like class actions or collective and mass actions, especially in like the products liability space or mass torts. Kind of, you'll see them coming. There will be some news brewing, I think. I don't know exactly, but I think her part of her job is to keep an eye out on that, to look at news articles and just kind of be in the know about what's going on in that space, and then to alert the partners if she thinks there's anything that is worth maybe trying to develop business on a certain front or trying to snag a client or just, hey, this is something we need to be informed about. So I have not been asked to do it, but I think sort of that scouting is, it could be a junior associate, a part of a junior associate's regular workload.
Mhm. Yeah. So, for example, in the Charlie Adelson case, it was pretty clear that the defense attorney or his firm, somebody had been scouring social media to see, who's saying what about the case. They found out that one of the witnesses had been posting things on a Facebook group to discuss the case. So, I mean, that totally makes sense depending on the kind of case it is. So,
Yeah. And
I
like I
think.
said before, I have had to scout judges.
Mhm.
And I think maybe once or twice I've had to look into just what can I possibly find about opposing counsel, just to see like
Mhm.
what their personality is like, and things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, kind of makes you more scared to be out there on the on social media once you know people are looking. So yeah, so same here. Would I recommend a career in the law? So now I'm going on 24 years since I graduated from Georgetown. So I would say I'm one of the lucky few who actually is still practicing law so many years after graduation, because I've seen so many of my friends and colleagues come and go. A lot of people end up quitting after 10 years, definitely after 20 years. You know, one of my friends was on a live stream show and he talked about how he gave up his law practice to work for McDonald's for the corporate office, but he still had to work at one of the real McDonald's franchises here first. And now he runs swim schools, but that's what makes him happy. So, you know, I mean, that's why I'm still kind of like wishy-washy. It's like, you know, some young, you know, like my cousin's kids, I was kind of glad that they decided not to go to law school. So one of them graduated from Duke and he's working for McKinsey as a consultant now. He seems pretty happy. So, you know, it just really depends, you know, but I think Joseph did the right thing by going to a school that is highly ranked and also gave a nice scholarship. So that definitely helps. You know, what about you? Do you want to say anything about this question as a first year associate?
It's a heavy hitting question, and I'm not afraid to say my perspective should count for less than many others out there right now. But I think if like without it's always an individual question, right? But without knowing the individual, I actually think my answer would be more times than not no. Uh, it's I mean, sometimes the answer is clearly yes. Like maybe your parents have done law. You've always been enamored by practicing law, not just, you know, things like making money or prestige or going to court or arguing. It's you have this conception of what it means to practice law, and that appeals to you. I think that is the most powerful indicator that pursuing a career in law is maybe for you, regardless of whatever school you get into or whether you want to do big law or anything else. If I speak to, and I don't, you know, I don't do this for a living. If I speak to any college students or like underclassmen at the law school now, I think I sort of say just talk to people to get as much information as you can. Because looking back, I thought I was about as informed as I could be in whatever situation I was. As a 1L, I thought I kind of know everything that I need to know. And that might have been true, but looking back, I was still woefully uninformed. There was no way I could have possibly known as much on my own, as much as, you know, I would have known if I spoke to other people that were willing to give advice and insights that I would just not know what I didn't know unless I spoke to those people. So there's always data out there. You can make an informed decision on that, but data, it tells you probabilities, and, you know, anecdotes give you possibilities, and you can start to map out your own path and decide whether or not you think it'll work out. So that's my perspective on it. I think there's a lot of people where the answer is clearly no, and there's a lot of people where the answer is clearly yes, and a lot of people where you're kind of just in the middle, and you need to talk things through. You need to do your research to kind of make the best judgment call for yourself. And you also never know if it'll pay off or not. For me, is, you know, where I am now, I can definitely point out more than a handful of moments where it could have easily gone either way, and my trajectory I would be in a completely different place now, for better or worse than I would have been otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, because this does happen to a significant number of people who graduate. They can't even find jobs. Even if they pass the bar, it's still tough for them to find a job, much less one that pays well. So, you know, I've seen it happen to my friends or people who interned for me during law school. So it can be really, really tough. And that's why I've been searching to try to find this video I did probably 2 years ago about should you go to law school, take the quiz. But it was so long ago, it's like totally buried somewhere in my channel. But it was, I can't even remember now, like 50 questions that people should rate themselves on. And you get points depending on whether you answer yes or no. So it's just really hard to just say, no, don't go to a low ranked school. I think in general, no, don't go to a low ranked school. But there are always special circumstances, like if you get a full ride or your parents are lawyers and they're going to give you a job anyway, so who cares? Um, or if you're such a radiant schmoozer networker type and you have tons of connections in the same city, then maybe it does make sense. So it's really hard to just say yes or no to certain questions. There's, I guess, is that like a lawyerly answer? It depends. Yeah.
After a consultation, we can give you.
Yeah. If somebody wants to pay for a consultation, I'd be glad to do some research. Yeah, because I have had some people, just call me up or email me after they see this channel. They're like, "Hey, blah blah blah, want to talk to you about whether I should go to law school or whether my relative should go to law school." And so after a while, I was like, I should charge for my time because this is just so time consuming. So sometimes people just don't respond after being told, well, there's a consultation fee for that. So yeah, sorry, but it's just too overwhelming sometimes to have so many emails.
I think if my younger self, like I was let's say the version of me that was still applying to law schools, right, a couple years ago, came to me and told me about his situation, his goals, his plans and intentions, I think my answer would have been, I don't think you should go to law school. I would not advise my past self to have gone to law school based on what he knew and what his goals were. And then yet I did it anyway, right? So just because someone tells you that it's a bad decision, and it might be, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't figure it out as you go along. You don't have to decide if law school is right for you only once before you take. You can decide before you take the LSAT. You can decide after. You can decide as you're applying. You can arrive orientation week, decide it's not for you. There are plenty of people that have they don't fall for the sunk cost fallacy after one semester, right? So I think there's plenty of opportunities to assess the question and not just one and done. You have to make the decision and live with it. Although it is like kind of contained within this early stages of your legal education, right?
Yeah, depends on how much your debt is by then, if you decide to drop out once you're there. Yeah, because since I do lots of divorce cases, I do hear about people who are totally saddled with law school debt or just college student loan debt. And it's really sad when it's people who are in their, say, like 40s who still have it. Or, people dropped out of law school, but they still have $200,000 of debt following them. So that's just sad. Yeah. Okay, so let's address Justice Watch Hag. Okay, that's a nice name. Going back to school to study law, fall of 2024. Plan to get a judicial clerkship in DC for a year and earn a LLM in tax. Will I be able to start? Probably not. I mean, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that's sort of like a theme in my channel. So I guess you're used to it if you've seen some of my old videos. But I think, so the Georgetown program for tax is very prestigious if you can get in. But I think it's really hard to just start your firm 1 year after clerking because you pretty much have to work someplace else to gain that experience and save up lots of money before you can do it, because it's like the school doesn't really teach you how to practice. So that's a big problem, I think. So it's very risky to start your own practice just right out of school or even 1 year after clerking.
There's a guy on YouTube named Jack Duffley, and he recently started his own law firm, and he just broke down like everything that went into it, right? All the steps he had to take, all the expenses, all the things he had to prepare. Very, very informative. But then I looked at what he was doing. I was like, wow, there's so much that goes into it and this is all before actually practicing the law as well. So I'm sure some people they can attack it and they can do it successfully. I understand that it's a very uh, complex goal to strive towards coming straight out of law school because
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's usually a bad idea because you could commit malpractice, and who's going to hire somebody with no experience? So that's really risky. So, okay, so on that note, Joseph, do you think you might hang out your own shingle in the future?
Does that mean to have my own practice?
Yeah,
I have not thought that far. I think
yeah.
um I I know that it's, now that I have the JD and I'm a licensed attorney, after I gain enough experience that it's always an option. Um, I don't know if that, I mean, right now I'm in just such a big system, almost like a cog in the machine. Of course, like more locally, I'm working closely with attorneys and seeing what their practice, the partners, like their clients, their practice. It does feel like they have their own practice nested within a larger system. But right now, I am just part of that larger system, trying to take in as much as I can, and I know it's a possibility, but I haven't thought about it too much.
Yeah, it's still so early. I wouldn't even recommend doing it until you've practiced at least, say, like 5 years. And if you can start out with some clients. So nothing's worse than trying to just start a practice and then be like, what? I have no clients. I'm making like peanuts every month. So definitely helps if you have lots of money saved up, or rich parents that can help fund you. So yeah, a lot of considerations. So
Real
thank you,
quick,
T.
I have a question. When you first started your practice, did you ever take on contract work for other law firms, just to be billing as okay?
No, no. Although, see, there was this guy who had his own practice, and I think he's run into problems with the bar since then and shut down his practice. But he approached me and he said, "Hey, Judy, you could like put up my sign, put out my business cards, hand out my brochures, and I'll give you 30% or a third of whatever cases I give you." I was like, "What kind of like BS setup is that?" I still had to pay all the overhead, pay for rent, office rent, but yet he was going to just basically be like a pimp, just giving me some work while he took the bulk of the profit. Give me a
Yeah.
break. So thank God I wasn't that desperate to do that kind of wacky arrangement, but I think he did find somebody else who was more desperate, who was willing to do that for him for a while. So yeah, there are definitely some like, you know, other attorneys who just want to take advantage of these younger attorneys and think like, oh yeah, just, you can have free office space as long as you do some of my admin work and I'll throw you a bone here and there.
So you're just an
And
employee anyway.
yeah, yeah, or they don't even want to make you an employee because they don't want to have to pay you anything, like a set salary. So, kind of a crappy situation there. But sometimes people do look for contract work. But I did do some court appointed work. So that was, I mean, it was a good experience because it kept me busy and I was still making something. And so I did a tiny bit of like child support enforcement defense work, basically representing these parents that had tons and tons of child support arrears. It was stressful, it didn't pay well, but I got good experience and got in front of the judge and got to deal with tons and tons of people. So, yeah. Let's see. So Janet says she was near a prison. Okay, you had to serve divorce petitions on clients. Okay, that sounds interesting. Yeah, definitely. When I was doing a child support enforcement attorney of the day work, I had to deal with a lot of people who just got out of prison, got out of jail, no money. It's pretty sad. So let's get on to the Adelson case, because that's what some people are really, really into. And I really am sick, so everybody's always harping on my voice. So let's have Charlie do the talking here. Okay, are you ready, Joseph?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what you've read so far about the case, the Dan Markel case.
I've never been as good as keeping up with the very public trials as much as I wish I was. But I know that it's like it's straight out of a fiction book, and I'm not even sure if some authors can write a situation as good as this. Like some of the key things that blow my mind, I think, is just like, wow, like 2 hitmen, driveway. Like I didn't know that still happens. Running off to Vietnam, and just
Trying to.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you like the underlying tone of like this is all has to do with like it's a family affair, and so I do want to get around to sort of seeing some more bits of the trial, like the examinations and the testimonies. But I know it's a big mess, and I know it's a very interesting case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot has been happening in the last week, because Donna Adelson, who is Charlie's mother, she's 73 years old. So she got arraigned. She looked very rude and defiant during her court hearing, just like making faces and saying something like, oh my gosh, or oh my God, and just being really dramatic and rude in court. So that was shocking. Then the next day, Charlie got sentenced to life, and he stood up and said, I just want to say I maintain my innocence. So it was just typical of them, because we feel like we've gotten to know this family thanks to now how many 3 trials and all these wiretap phone calls between him and his mom and Katie McBanua, who was his ex-girlfriend, who also got convicted. So yeah, I did notice there's been a couple of new what do you call them, like search warrants that are in the file, but it's not public so far. So something's going on. So it's still very exciting. So I take it that nobody has been talking about this case, huh?
I've heard of it, actually, especially because, I mean, this was 2014, right, when Markel was murdered.
Yeah, July.
So it's like in the law school sphere, I think people generally, it's a pretty high profile murder that involves a law professor. So I've heard people talk about it. The trial currently, as it's ongoing, no, not as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very time consuming. I don't know if you knew, but I actually flew down to Tallahassee to watch the trial for a few days. So that was pretty interesting, and also showed how many people are so interested in this whole case. So that's how I got tons more subscribers also, because you always want to focus a YouTube channel on topics that people are really into. So why don't we watch a tiny smidgen of a phone call, which I guess it's relevant to us because people are saying they think the person talking could be Vietnamese. So I know you're not Vietnamese, but whatever, you're from Southern Cal, so you can comment and guess on this person's ethnicity. Okay.
I'll do my best.
Okay, thank you. I hope you can hear it. Okay, let me turn it up.
But we gotta, you gotta hope that you don't just get a change of venue, but it's also not a small town in the Panhandle, that has 5,000 people. This will be the biggest thing that ever happened in that town. It'll be consumed by the media. Right. So, I testified in the case, and everybody said I did so well. Even people online were like starting to change the way they were viewing the case, and there was totally new comments coming in, and everything I heard, it sounded like it was going to go great. Wow. She came up with thing that was nothing but like just lies. I mean, there was some like very, very blatant lies where she's telling him what my best friend said. First of all, he's not my best friend, and I never said that. But the jury don't fucking know. The prosecutor saying your best friend said this.
But that's why you have your lawyer to debate whatever she's telling them to, to believe. And show them proof,
That was in closing. So what she started doing was doing all these lies in closing where you can't debate it. And then the jury's instructed anything the attorney says in closing is not to be taken as evidence. So you can actually say anything you want in closing. It doesn't get held against the attorney for saying it. So if she's not accurate or it's not true, she doesn't get held responsible for saying it in closing. So you can say a lot of shit and twist a lot of things around in closing that you can't do all trial. But it's like a 2-hour summary that the jury sits and listens to.
that doesn't sound fair.
Mike, if I knew, I can't say what I want to say, but
Yeah, I have a feeling what you're gonna say, but don't say it.
Yeah. If I knew it was going to be like this, I would. Yeah.
No, this is again, whatever it is, brother. Don't give up and have your lawyer just go back and try to do whatever he can to change this outcome. Either at this point, if it takes him another year to get you heard again or get this trial again, doesn't matter. Get it done.
Yeah, it could take 2 years to get the but
Maybe,
they're gonna shake my head when I go to fucking code.
wow, I cannot believe this is happening to you.
No, dude. They shave when you go in there, they strip you naked, and they shave your head bald. Zero, like complete off, make everybody think.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, man, Mike, I don't even want to know what I'm going to look like when I do that. Not that it's going to fucking matter, but
Exactly.
it's just mentally going to fuck me up.
Just keep you strong. Again, just do whatever you were doing before. Keep your mind healthy. Do your workout. And let's try just to reverse the situation. That's the only thing you can do at the moment.
That's it, man. Just keep my hope up. And
Yeah, we can.
not keep hope up until the very end until it's over, right?
Yeah. Don't ever give up, brother. The moment you do, that's when your life goes away.
Yeah. No, you're right. I was really hoping to see you this week, man.
I know. Believe me, I told you. I was waiting. I was waiting for you to come and say, listen, let's hang out tomorrow or whatever.
I'm over. Yeah, dude, I can't. It's been less than 24 hours. This happened yesterday around 5:30. So.
Wow. That was you had the verdict yesterday?
Yeah, I heard it last night at 5:30.
Wow.
Unanimous, all 12.
Wow, that's so crazy. All of them the same.
So yeah, it has to be unanimous, otherwise it's a hung jury. And juror number 15.
Change it. How it works?
What's that?
If one of them said no, he's not guilty, then what will happen?
Then it's a hung jury. It has to be all guilty or all innocent. One doesn't put the right, but they're like sheep. They're sitting there talking, and if one feels this way,
right?
It's just, for 6 years, I wasn't arrested. That's how strong the case was. But evidently, it's strong enough that they don't even need to deliberate. They can just go ahead and render the verdict.
Wow. I'm still speechless, but I don't know. It's kind of news you get, and it's just not expecting.
Yeah, that's nuts. I literally was shocked. I'm still in a state of shock.
you're probably gonna be like that for a while. Because, like I say, it's gonna take time to sink in. Yeah, your mind around it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real. I've always had hope. I had such hope that thought it was amazing. Oh my God! I hate to bring it down with this news. I just needed to call and ring it up. And two people I call.
Yeah, but I listen. Call me whenever you need it. Let's talk. Keep talking, and whatever you need to help you. All right, with everything else, let me know.
Yeah, I'm gonna need not today, tomorrow, the next day, or whatever. But at some point, I'm gonna need to get the boat picked up from the house. But there's no rush on it.
Yeah. You want me to? You want me to put in a trailer and live in the front of the house, or take it out of there?
If you could put it in the warehouse and then maybe you go.
Okay, that's go slow, brother. Figure out things by things. So let's see what we. But I'll get it out. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Unless you think you could use it behind your house and put it behind your house and enjoy it.
No, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. If you want me to sell it, I'll try to get rid of it. If you want me to keep it for now and to see what's gonna happen, let's go. Let's not jump to conclusion yet. I want to hear you're telling me next week that your lawyer is he got it an appeal. We're gonna get this all over. Try it again.
Hopefully.
That's what I want to hear.
I would say that whenever you get around to it, that's nothing that's urgent. But let's put it in the warehouse, unless you think you'll get use out of it, and put it behind your house and play around with it.
No, I don't want to use it, but whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. But I don't need to use it.
All right. Well, then let's put it in the warehouse for now until we know something for sure, or until we need the space. If you're short on space, let me know, and then we'll sell it too.
Okay. Let's figure out everything else first, and don't worry about that for now. I'll get it handled. Don't worry.
So you got Janet's number, right?
Yes. I'll figure out with her.
So yeah, I just figured out with her. No rush. I guess I'll there. Hope for the best. Until you need a space.
We will hope for the best, brother. We always gotta be positive. Doesn't matter what. Be positive.
Yeah. Like I always appreciate your friendship, man. I really do anything that we'll be out there and hanging out right now. I still can't believe that it went this way.
Wow. And
Okay, I think that's enough. Are you bored, Joseph?
No.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. I was I don't think it's not that strong of an accent, actually, in my opinion. But I think Vietnamese might be a good guess. I think the way he said house, it sounded a little bit familiar. I mean, in San Diego, we actually have a pretty prevalent like Southeast Asian community. So I don't know if it's just like I've gotten used to it or whatever, but maybe I don't think the accent is that strong at all from my perspective.
No, when I was really listening, well, first of all, Charlie is a total, he's like a jabbermouth. So his friend talked for maybe 5% of the time, 10% of the time. But when the friend did say a few words like mind or some other random word, I was like, oh, that does sound like a Vietnamese person. So, yeah. And he's clearly like your classic sycophant. Is that how you pronounce the word? Just like totally clueless as to everything that's been going on with the case. It's been public since 2016. A lot of things were in the media, but he's still like calling him brother, like, I'll do anything you need, whatever you need, I'll take care of things. I'll talk to Janice, who is his like totally weird Filipino girlfriend. So yeah, what's wrong with this guy? And he keeps saying, wow.
Heard a lot of those.
Wow. It's like, that's all he can say to Charlie. So, it's so crazy. How does he find these people? These like people that just totally suck up to him. And eat up whatever he says. It's sad.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Sycophant. Okay. So the family knows phone calls are being recorded, so they're playing to the listeners or possible jurors. Charlie has nothing but time to come up with wait. Yeah, well, too late now because he could appeal, but it sounds like Charlie knows that he doesn't have good grounds for an appeal. Of course, they'll still throw money at it, probably. Yeah. So, have you followed any sort of criminal cases before?
So they usually need to get public enough that the people around me start talking about it. I have, I mean, I like to listen to like podcasts, and every now and then you'll have someone that was involved in a trial come on the show and talk more about it. So, for example, with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, the most that I heard about it was actually from the perspective of the psychologist. She came on some podcasts and talked about it. So I'm not really watching the streams of these trials as much or keeping up on a daily basis. But every now and then someone will say something, or I'll come across it in other media where I get to sort of unpack it further. And I know I'm a pretty big basketball fan. I like to follow the NBA, and right now there's some noise about John Moran, and maybe I think it's like an assault and battery case, and he's a basketball player for the Memphis Grizzlies. So some people around me or in the communities I'm in are talking about that now, and I'm hearing a little more about it. But I don't go out and seek it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're so busy with your regular type of job that for some people they don't want to hear this kind of depressing news with all sorts of weirdos plotting murders, trying to get away with it. Yeah.
Well, one day someone's gonna write a book and it's gonna read like fiction. So maybe I'll read all about it from beginning to end when the book is out.
Yeah. Well, actually, I did interview an attorney here named Stephen Epstein, who wrote a book about the case. Yeah. So he wrote the book last year before all this other stuff has come out, and it created some controversy amongst the people who followed the Markel case. And then Dan Markel's mother wrote a book last fall called The Unfailing. So that's more like a first-person account of how her son's murder affected her and about victims' rights and life as a victim in this ongoing case. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, let's see if some people have some questions here. People are talking about Janice. Yeah, I did want to do a separate live stream show talking about that, but I'll have to wait until tomorrow because I'm just not feeling totally up to talking nonstop again tonight. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this friend seems like this weird guy who hasn't been watching anything about the trial. Hope the DA's office will conduct more searches to find evidence to convict the rest of the Adelson family. Oh, of course, they are. They're doing it. There's some sort of search warrant that's been issued recently. There's a storage area where Charlie used to. Yeah, so it sounds like this guy lives pretty close to where Charlie's house is. He was talking about helping him store a trailer or take something to a warehouse. Yeah, and the guy's like telling him, no, you can still get out. Maybe you'll get an appeal next week. What planet is this guy on? Hope he has a time machine. Justice on Earth. Much slower than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he really doesn't know how long this has actually been going on already.
Yeah. Well, with the Filipino girlfriend, Janice, she said something really dumb on her wiretap jail call where she was like, I thought the judge would overturn it. It's like the judge has no ability to overturn, just jump in and be like, let him go free. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. So, then again, I mean, I guess hypothetically or theoretically, the judge could have given a directed verdict, but that's very, very rare. Yeah. So how long will it be until Janice or Bree are paid for tell-all? Well, both of them are still totally pro Charlie, pro Adelson. So I think years are going to have to pass before they finally probably stop being brainwashed. And yeah, but Bree still needs him for his money. So that's Charlie's child's mother. So yeah. Let's see. Wait till a movie comes out. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Watching verdict, she still thought Charlie was returning home. Yeah. Are you talking about Bree or Janice? Well, both of them sounded like, yeah, I guess you were talking about Janice. Okay. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like hearing these people talking on these recorded phone calls where they're so delusional and still think Charlie's a good guy, still loving him. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. People who pacify the Adelsons are in it for a reason. That's right. I'm sure they loved whatever money that Charlie had to give them. Takes way too much multitasking. I keep saying so. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. And I get a lot of criticism for it. So it's tough. So Joseph, weren't you thinking about doing a YouTube channel during law school?
I've always been into content creation, and every time I think if things like on the level of a school project, if you ask me to put together some kind of media product, I think I can get around to a basic version of it. And so I've always been interested in maybe putting those skills to use. Obviously, I don't mind, talking into a microphone, or, having a camera on my face for over an hour. But I think I admire what other people do, and I'm interested in maybe emulating some of that. But I think it's a lot of work, and I'm not sure that I can fall in love with the entire process to do it in volume. So, every now and then I work with music a bit. So, seeing that go from the process from beginning to end takes a lot of work. And I'm sure things like planning for a live stream, or a podcast, or, interviews, these things, or even just like by yourself and, just talking to a camera and then keeping the audience engaged is something that you have to put in a lot of time. I know you know this. You have to put in a lot of time, not just to do it, but also to get better at it while you do it. So, yeah, it's the thought has crossed my mind, but that's about it.
Yeah. You're busy with your job, so forget it. I've mentioned before that doing some of this YouTube stuff turned out to be me making 50 cents to $7 an hour for all the time, research, video editing, things like that. Yeah. Okay. What about this? So Justice Watch Hag says that he or she wants to start a MedMal and tax law firm 1.5 years after completing a JD and LLM. Yeah. Well, it really depends on whether you're going to have a funnel of clients, like if you have enough connections who are going to potentially bring in clients. Also, MedMal and tax law. I've never heard of a firm that does MedMal plus tax law because it's totally different areas. I have had a tiny bit of experience doing MedMal for previous firms, and you have to have so much money saved up to be able to do those kinds of cases. It can get really expensive with the experts. So, but good luck, like everybody's got to try something. Yeah. So hopefully it works out. Any thoughts, Joseph?
No, I don't know much about, MedMal or tax or starting your own law firm, but
Okay.
yeah, I'd love to see what a combination of that, actually, how that would work together. I'm sure she's thought about it in ways that you and I haven't really done our research for. So
Hmm. Yeah, gotta talk to lots of people to get advice. Yeah. New search warrant. No, I was just looking at it a few hours ago on the website, and it's not publicly available so far. So there's definitely something brewing behind the scenes, which is great to hear. Yeah, because we need justice for Dan. Okay. But the women need the Adelsons to pay their rent. When that ship sails, they may have a different point of view. Yeah, but I think for Bree, it's going to be a long, long time because at least she's in the good graces of Harvey and Donna, who are Charlie's parents. So they were planning on setting up a trust to make sure her kid had money. So she's not going to say anything negative. Okay, so thanks, Angela. Wishing you well in your law career, or if you choose another career down the road. Yeah,
thank you, Angela.
yeah, that's great. Okay, we're talking about totally different subjects here, but but it's all good. Yeah, thank you. We'll wrap up soon because I'm sure you have work to do, right? My voice
It's a little
is
slow
giving.
right now.
Yeah.
No, it's a great way to spend my Sunday.
Okay, it is. I mean, how's the weather there? Isn't it beautiful in
San Diego, so yeah, it's about as perfect as it probably gets around this season for anywhere in the country.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is nice to know. People are praising you for your voice. Yes. You could have a radio podcast. Yeah. Okay. This is great. You'll have clients. The issue is gaining competence. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So we might as well go ahead and wind this up. I'm sorry I kept you longer than what I had promised, but I got to go drink something and probably take some medicine too. So thank you guys for joining in. Thank you, Joseph. Good luck to you with your career. And I'm sure we'll be in touch so you can keep checking in, telling us how it's going.
Yeah. Of course. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. You can hold on a second and we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you.